Saturday is the start of early voting in the primaries for local offices, state assembly seats, and most importantly, governor of New York. And we've got hotly contested races in both parties for the first time in a long time. Remember that for primary elections in New York, you have to be registered with the party that's holding the primary if you want to vote in it. For early voting, you can go to any polling place in the county where you live. But on election day, you are assigned a polling place. Now, that early voting goes from this Saturday, the 18th, until Sunday, June 26th, with primary day the following Tuesday, June 28th. And joining us live to get ready for this kickoff to Decision 2022 is Jimmy Vielkind, who covers the New York political scene for the Wall Street Journal. Jimmy, thanks for being here. And let's start out on the Democratic side. It's hard to beat an incumbent, even one who wasn't elected governor. So what is the state of the race for Kathy Hochul and her challengers?
Well, Mary Alice, most people say that Governor Hochul does continue to have the advantage. It's hard to beat any incumbent, and Governor Hochul has done a good job of rallying traditional Democratic allies, including major unions. This week, she won the endorsement of New York City Mayor Eric Adams. She has raised more money than both of her opponents, and she's sandwiched between them. Jumaane Williams, the New York City public advocate, is criticizing her from the progressive left flank side of the issue spectrum, while Congressman Tom Suozzi of Long Island is kind of running against her from the right. He's been criticizing her for not doing enough about the uptick in crime. And Williams has said that Hochul has not done enough to enact a progressive agenda, including more housing protections for New Yorkers who might now be facing eviction. Again, advantage to Hochul, who is shown to have lead in some early polling of Democratic likely primary voters. We also know, according to the Siena College poll released today, that she is well known and seen favorably by the state's voters.
And of course, there was a debate with her two challengers where she certainly, I guess you could objectively say, held her own. But of course, there's still time for ground to be made up here. Let's jump over and talk about the Republicans now, who have not held the governor's office for more than 15 years now. But there seems to be some optimism for them here in New York with the expectation of a big election year nationally for the GOP. So, Jimmy, how are things shaping up on that side?
Well, that's right. The national trend is seemingly going in the Republican way. We know that in the year after a presidential election, the opposite party tends to perform better. That will be the Republicans this year. And the GOP has really seized upon rising costs, including the rising price of gas, as well as rising crime numbers, particularly in New York City. They are using these issues to tap into voter frustration against Democrats. And what we saw was a remarkable amount of interest in the gubernatorial spot and who wanted to lead the Republican ticket this year, compared to 4 years ago when it seemed like the party was scraping to find someone to challenge former Governor Andrew Cuomo. The endorsed party candidate is Congressman Lee Zeldin of Long Island. He has led in fundraising. He touts polling that has been done by his campaign and other outlets that shows him in the lead. But he's facing challenges from three other people. One is Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino, former Westchester County Executive, I should say. He ran in 2014, and he has made a big issue out of illegal immigration and flights that are coming into the county airport. Another challenger to Zeldin is Harry Wilson. He is an upstate native who has been leading a hedge fund and turning around businesses. He has spent millions of his own money on television ads, which I'm sure some viewers have seen, but he has faced charges that he is more moderate and out of step with the current GOP base. Zeldin labeled him a never-Trumper, and indeed, Wilson worked with the Obama administration as an advisor in 2009 in the aftermath of the Great Recession. Finally, there is, of course, Andrew Giuliani. He is the son of former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, and he seems to be banking on the recognition of that surname to connect with voters. He is viewed favorably by a majority of people, again, based on good feelings of his father. And it's expected to be something of a jump ball, despite all the institutional support lining up behind Lee Zeldin.
Yeah, it's a really crowded field, no question. We don't have much time left, but I quickly want to talk to you about what's happening with the backdrop of the fight over the other primary elections in New York that were, of course, originally scheduled for this month for the state Senate and the U.S. Congress. What has been the impact of that judge's decision that forced the redrawing of the maps for those races? We've only got a few seconds left, but quickly, what do you think?
Well, Mary Alice, those races will now be held in August, and the expectation is probably low turnout in August and low turnout now in June. For Western New York voters, that means the GOP candidate who will take over for Chris Jacobs, who announced he's not running, will not be determined until August. So you have a whole summer of additional campaigning to look forward to.
Yeah, the races all got really interesting in the past few weeks. Friend of the town hall, Jimmy Vielkind, reports for the Wall Street Journal and helps us stay on top of what's happening in Albany. Thanks again, Jimmy, for being here.
Thanks for having me.